Did you ever dream of having a big adventure? All my life I've dreamed of seeing America. The time was right and the opportunity came, so I sold my house, put my stuff into storage, packed up the car, and head off on a journey to see America. All of it. 5 months and 20,000 miles later, I visited all 48 states, saw lots of beautiful things, including big cities, small towns, world-class museums, and lots of castles. This is my journey. Travel along with me on this adventure I call Seeing Medieval America. Hi, it's Will from StormTheCastle.com, and here on YouTube you know me as Epic Fantasy, and this is my latest video. This is episode 23 of my Medieval America series, where I travel all around America, visiting all 48 states, seeking out medieval sites like castles and blacksmiths and meaderies and all kinds of things. And in this episode, we visit Georgia, the great state of Georgia, the Peach State. Now, I've been, for the past couple of weeks now, I've been moving my way slowly down the eastern seaboard, and I've noticed now in Georgia that the terrain is changing, as it's been slowly changing. But look at that soil on the right there. Isn't that beautiful? Different color. The trees are getting lusher. The landscape is getting actually gentler. And it's a beautiful state. I just took some, I guess you could call it random highway footage, road footage, because I enjoyed the greenness and the lushness of Georgia. I like it, and I saw peaches everywhere, but I never actually had any Georgia peaches. But I did have, finally, country fried steak. It's a big thing down south, but you can't get it in New England. So I finally tried it, and it was delicious. And that white gravy is just fantastic. And it's really cheap. Anyway, our real goal here in Georgia is the area around Atlanta. And Atlanta is an amazing city. It's a economic hub and a flight hub too. And it's, the whole Georgia has changed a lot, particularly because of Atlanta, Georgia. But look at this. Here's a picture of the skyline. And that's one of the things I really enjoyed a lot when it comes to traveling around the country is I get a lot of beautiful views of skylines. Just get a peek at the city as you approach it. It's kind of nice. In some places there was a lot of traffic, in some places the traffic wasn't too bad. But there's the skyline. And the first place we're going to stop, and I don't know if I mentioned it, but we're going to look at two castles in this video. And the first one here is called Rhodes Hall. And I'm going to run a little highway footage because Rhodes Hall is right off the highway. And you'll see it, but look at those clouds. There was a third castle around the Atlanta area that I visited, but it's a very private castle, a small castle, privately owned, and they had like signs everywhere, signs on the street and signs on the grounds, and I was like, I don't even think I'm going to even take any pictures. So I ended up not. But there it is, there's Rhodes Hall. Beautiful, beautiful little castle. One of the things about this castle that I really wanted to see was the pretty famous stained glass window set of stained glass windows, but upon my arrival it was closed to the public, so I couldn't go in, and they only have tours a couple of times for a couple hours a week to get inside and understand the inside. So but I'll pop in a picture from Wikipedia of the stained and painted glass windows. But isn't that something? That is, it was built by Amos Giles Rhodes in 1904. He was a philanthropist and a businessman. It is built of something called Stone Mountain granite, which is a local granite in Stone Mountain, Georgia. The architect is Willis F. Denny. He was a pretty prolific, I guess, famous architect in the Georgia area in the last century. Now it's just owned by the state, by a preservation society. And an interesting thing is the owner of it, Rhodes, Mr. Rhodes, took a trip to Europe and came back, enamored by the castle, so he wanted to build something that was Rhineland, which is Germany, castle inspired. And isn't that beautiful? I love that square tower. That is just magnificent. That's really, really special. But you can see a lot of the architectural variances in this building. But it really is placed well, it looks well, and it's just well done. It's it's Romanesque revival, it's medievalist, it's late Victorian, and it even has arts and crafts influences in it. Pretty interesting, eclectic, medieval-ish kind of castle. Wonderful in Atlanta, Georgia. It was in 1929. It was given to the state with the implication that it would be preserved by the state for state use. So that's it. That is Rhodes Hall in Atlanta, Georgia. Next, we're going to move on to a quirky and interesting little castle called, well, it has a couple of different names. One of the names is McLaughlin Castle. It's privately owned, and it's also called Dwarf Castle because there were little gnomes around it. And I'll show you a picture of those gnomes. But it's in Alpharette, Georgia, and it was built in the 1950s by a Mr. McLaughlin who promised his wife he would build her a castle, and he did. So, it's another private castle, so I didn't, want to get too close to let these people have their privacy, because I'm sure they get this kind of a thing. But from across the street, I took some video. See, isn't that kind of interesting? And I believe there is a moat around it. But there's one of the gnomes or dwarves. Is that a gnome or is that a dwarf? And what's the difference? But quite unique. The stone, I don't know what that stone is, but that's pretty unique. Isn't that something? And let's take a look at some pictures. But very well manicured land. Very well kept castle. There they are. Leave me a comment if you know those are gnomes or dwarves. I think they're gnomes. How'd you like to come home to that every day after work? Be kind of neat, wouldn't it? But so I spent a little time walking around, and there's a building in the back, and I don't know what that building is. Probably can find out. Maybe it's a swimming pool or something. I'll show you in some of the pictures. You can see the building in the back. Maybe it's just a shed. But it's a beautiful day here in Georgia. I enjoyed my stay. I spent a couple of days in Georgia, and I didn't mention this, but I had also spent a couple of days in South Carolina before arriving here in Georgia. See, there's the building in the back. But that's it. That's just a couple of spots in Georgia. Next, we are going to be moving on to Florida. And I'm excited about Florida. And we'll take a little bit of video footage here of Florida, because Florida has, of course, some really magnificent things, including Disney. And I couldn't, do a trip around America looking at castles and not stop at Disney Castle. So that'll be in the next episode. And also the terrain and landscape change significantly, of course, because it's Florida. It's a peninsula. It's very low to the ground and very flat. And there's a lot of bridges like this, and there's a lot of a lot of palm trees and a lot of very lush vegetation. Beautiful weather. I love Florida. I didn't expect to love Florida, but I do. Well, anyway, thank you. This has been episode 23 of my Medieval America series, where I travel all around the country looking at medieval sites. If you'd like to, follow along, subscribe to my channel, or check out this playlist for this stuff. Otherwise, if you'd like to donate and help me in my endeavors to build a castle, you can check out my link to Patreon. Here's more videos.